74.5 million, 14.9 million, 2.98 million, and 247 billion. If only these numbers reflected the last 4 deposits to my bank account, we may well be here discussing another subject, but alas, they do not. What these numbers represent is a failure on our parts as parents of young children and as citizens of the most powerful nation in the free world. For some, hearing the words mentally disordered child brings to mind the image of the self-centered, selfish, and spoiled child that has most definitely been ruined by overindulgent and lenient parents. This image is part of the problem. Children with mental disorders don't present with the specific symptoms of their diagnosed medical condition because they want to or because they have been spoiled by parents or caretakers. They present with those specific symptoms because that's exactly what they are, symptoms of a diagnosed brain disease. I know all too well how far-reaching and all-consuming the stigma of mental illness can be. I am the mother of a mood-disordered child. As you can see, 1 in 5 children suffer from some sort of serious medical condition, and each year $247 billion are spent on the treatment of those conditions. Mental illness is a medical condition grossly prevalent among our youth population, and it must be approached, diagnosed, and treated as such. The stigma that children with mental illness face can be reduced by participating with various nonprofits and advocating for these children. Today I'll go over the definition of stigma in general, and I'll explain how that definition relates to the psychiatric community specifically, and then we'll go over some ways in which we can all help reduce the stigma associated with mental illness in children. Stigma, defined according to the Encarta Dictionary English North American Version, is a noun that means the shame or disgrace attached to something regarded as socially unacceptable. The first question we need to ask ourselves is it ever appropriate to label a non-communicable disease that a child suffers from as socially unacceptable? As was stated by Jeannie Von Stoltz, PhD and Director of the Mental Health Services for Bexar County Juvenile Probation, if 1 in 5 children suffered from a medical diagnosis, then we would consider that an epidemic. And as Dr. Mitchelson, MD, President and Senior Medical Director of Clarity Child Guidance Center pointed out, this is a medical condition just like diabetes and just like blood pressure. So now, let's discuss the role that stigma plays in the psychiatric community. According to the article entitled Understanding the Impact of Stigma on People with Mental Illness, published in the journal World Psychiatry in February of 2002, it's not the majority of the U.S. population and of the Western world in general have some sort of negative stigmatizing attitude about mental illness. And the most upsetting part is it's not restricted to just the misinformed or uninformed public. You know, the majority of mental health professionals in various disciplines subscribe to some sort of negative stereotype about mental illness. Also, the way it affects people, the parents that are dealing with, you know, these children. Lisa Lambert, in her article, Why Parents Are Silent About Mental Illness, stated, it isn't just friends or family you're careful with, it's the pediatricians, it's the child's teacher, and it's people in the child's life in general. We live in a society where the stigma around mental illness can stop us in our tracks. It's far more serious than a lack of understanding. People repeat things to you that can cut you to the quick, and you learn not to tell them what you're going through. Instead, you talk about the Red Sox and gardening. Now that we reviewed the definition, related it to the psychiatric community, now let's talk about things that we can do to help reduce that stigma. Number 1, we can educate ourselves. The National Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health provides resources, support, and trainings for families suffering with mental illness. Please visit their website at www.ffcmh.org for more information. The second thing we can do is advocate. The National Alliance on Mental Illness helps those families suffering with mental illness build better lives. Please visit www.nami.org for more information. The third thing is donating. Clarity Child Guidance Center is the only center in South Texas that serves children ages 3 to 17 years old who suffer from a serious medical condition. And the website that you can visit is www.claritychildguidancecenter.org for more information. In conclusion, we've reviewed the definition of stigma, how it relates to the psychiatric community, and things that we can do in general to help reduce the stigma. In closing, I would like to leave you with this one final thought. Always remember, they're not those children, they are our children. Thank you.